Find out how one of Pennsylvania's captains of industry is influencing state politics and public policy. Next on Behind the Headlines.
This is Behind the Headlines, with behind-the-scenes analysis on issues affecting Pennsylvanians, sponsored by the Susquehanna Valley Center for Public Policy. Now, here's your host.
Hi, welcome to another edition of Behind the Headlines. I'm Charlie Greenewald, Senior Fellow of the Susquehanna Valley Center for Public Policy. And as usual, I'm joined by my co-host, Maura Donnelly. Maura, welcome.
Hello, Charlie.
So what are you doing for the summer, by the way?
Working. How about you?
You're working.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to do some work, and I hope next month maybe I'll be able to get away for a week.
Oh, that would be great.
I don't know.
I hope
Have
you do.
Well, we'll see. But meanwhile, as you said, there are lots of people that are working, and we have one of the best examples of a self-made man who has made an incredible business for himself in Pennsylvania through hard work. And that is none other than Scott Wagner, who's the president and CEO of Penn Waste. Scott, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Could you tell us a little bit about Penn Waste and a little bit about your background? We know that how did you get started, and how did you become one of Pennsylvania's most successful business people?
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's a great question.
You're welcome.
I'm 54 years old, and I turned 55 this September. Basically started in business when I was 20 years old. I went to Dallastown High School in York County, and went to college for 1 year and decided that the grass was greener on the other side. So I went into various business enterprises, and in 1985 I started a waste company, York Waste Disposal, and 12 years later in 1997 sold the company and had a 3-year non-compete, and in 2000 I started Penn Waste. And Penn Waste focuses mainly on municipal contracts. We have 63 contracts in South Central Pennsylvania. We service about 150,000 homes. And probably, if I have to look back at my success and what's helped my success along the way, it was work ethic. It was, when I was growing up, I grew up on a small farm and had 2 hardworking parents, had a very entrepreneurial uncle. So, I knew all about hard work. And back then we didn't have computer games and Nintendos and all those good things. But, when you really look at, and I think I've had a lot of opportunities and been reasonably successul. But, you learn a lot over the years by making a lot of mistakes and learning from your mistakes. And so, I've made a lot of big mistakes that have cost money. And, you have to stand up after the mistake and sort of face the music and move on and look at tomorrow as being another day. But I think really if I look at Penn Waste today, we have about 280 employees. One thing I learned over the years is hire people that are smarter than you are. And while I'm sort of the jack of all trades, I have a great management team and just a great group of people that I work with every day, and it's from the truck driver who drives the truck to the neighborhoods, or a driver who does commercial collections, the loader in a neighborhood who's loading either recyclables or picking up the solid waste, to the mechanics in the shop, someone in the billing department, someone in the sales department. So I'm very, very fortunate to work and be surrounded by some really, really great people.
Well, before I turn you over to Maura, you not only are known as one of the state's most successful business people, but you came to the fore and came to the public's attention right before the primary election. And Maura and I were talking about this. You did something that was a little unique for business people, and that is you became politically engaged. You became very apparent in South Central Pennsylvania. You took out a full-page insert in the Patriot News, in the paper of record for state government, and you had television advertisements, and you were exhorting people to become involved in the political process. This is somewhat unique for business people in this area, for individual business people to do. What spurred you to do it?
Well, I think there's a couple things. We are, the state of Pennsylvania is really the state of, it's the state of Pennsylvania, Inc. And the federal government is United States of America, Inc. They're both businesses for all intents and purposes. Their revenues coming in and expenses going out. And both of those businesses are running where there are more expenses coming in than there is revenue. And I think for many years, and I would be one of those people, I mean, I've always been politically active. I've always made contributions to political campaigns, going back to the late 1970s. But I think what happens, a lot of people almost went on autopilot, and we continued to elect people to different positions, whether it was in the state, federal government, local government, and people that really didn't, their hearts were in the right place and they meant well, but at the end of the day they really couldn't read financial statements. They were making huge decisions. Down in our county we had a school district that in 2000 went out and had an architect do a design for a new school and I think renovation of the existing high school. The architect's estimate was $34 million. The school district went out for bid, and when the bids came back at $40 million. So we're talking $6 million over an original estimate. And without a lot of questioning, the school district approved the project at $40 million. And when the project was finished, there were $25 million worth of cost overruns. So a $34 million project actually cost $65 million. And we see them all over. And I see a lot of people making decisions that aren't being held accountable. And there's, again, I think there's going to be a day of reckoning, and I think the day of reckoning is getting pretty close. But what amazes me, when I go into my barber shop, and I'll ask the people in the barber shop, hey, are you registered to vote? And the answer is no. And have you ever been registered? No. And I'm finding it, I'm finding it more and more common that people aren't even registered to vote. And I think we have to get people more engaged, because at the end of the day, the average person is affected by a lot of what goes on in government: school taxes, sales tax, gas taxes, cigarette taxes, beer taxes, the taxes that I pay, the taxes that I think everybody pays, and whether it's on your electric bill at home, whether it's your cable franchise TV bill or cable franchise fee, I mean, there are little taxes everywhere. And I think my motive was to get people more engaged. But I think another thing that has happened, that we have a new administration in Washington that really in the last year and a half, if you're in business and you make a profit, you really should be ashamed of yourself. And we're going to tax you, and we're going to take the money you make and we're going to spread it around. And I mean, really, we're going to create more entitlement programs, and we're going to pay more people that aren't working more money. And I heard a statistic yesterday, and don't know it to be true or not, but I have heard it before, that really 52% of the people in this country are paying all the taxes. 48% aren't paying. Now, whether it's true or not, I do know a lot of people that don't pay taxes, and I know a lot of people that do pay taxes. But I think what I find surprising is business people are not only hiding behind their desks, I think they're hiding under their desks. And being in business today is not a picnic. And I think there's a lot of stress, especially in the last 2 years with the financial market, banking, the economy. So I think it's I want people to come out from behind their desks and get out from under their desks and come out and admit that they have a lot of the same problems that I have.
What kind of reaction did you get from colleagues and other captains of industry?
Well, it was interesting because we did a large number of inserts, and we did a large mailing, and we did TV commercials, and really it was all public service. It was get people to come out and vote, and I urge people to vote for pro-business candidates. I mean, I think that if somebody's going to be in office and they're going to be making financial decisions for the people in York County or the state of Pennsylvania or throughout the United States, I think they should have some business sense, and they should understand that 2 + 2 = 4 always has and always will.